Steve Cooper Rank Success, and another short video if you're an aspiring promotion candidate looking to get to Sergeant Inspector or Chief Inspector. Just some food for thought and reflection really in this one. I've called this video Which Rabbit, and this is in terms of the context of when people say, and someone said it to me recently, you know, how that individual pulled that rabbit out of the hat, I never know. And I laughed to myself because it's something that's cropped up before. I've heard that before, and so, you know, pulling the rabbit out of the hat is something that you associate with magicians. You know, how did you pull that rabbit out of that hat? How does a rabbit even fit into that hat? So, you know, magicians, that's their business, that's what they do. But this context of pulling a rabbit out of the hat is something I just wanted to focus upon, because sometimes it is a case of, you know, after a set of promotion boards, and there are some now that are going through these conversations happening now, people go, you know, how did that individual, how did they get through that board? And how did the people that were really kind of expected and anticipated and strongly supported not get through? You know, people are in a bit of shell shock afterwards, and there's lots of emotions flying about, you know, anger, frustration, disappointment. Some people have been bemused, confused. All their work has kind of not been for nothing, but it hasn't paid off on this occasion. And they want to know, how did this individual pull it out the bag? Because, you know, he or she is, you know, quite quiet normally. Have not been to anybody that we know of for support. Because often it's very kind of incestuous when promotion groups help each other support. So the kind of what I call the Lone Rangers, if you like, out to the left and right of field, are those that come in and then pull it out the bag, and everybody else is going, what was it they did? How did they prepare? And sometimes some of my clients do exactly that. They get asked to stay behind on promotion boards because the board want to know, how did you prepare? You know, in other words, how did you pull this rabbit out of the hat? So I just wanted to focus on that description at the moment. And if you want to kind of find out more about that, and I know your time's busy, you might not have time to listen to this video or the others that might play after this connected to it today. You can download a digital toolkit bespoke for Sergeant Inspector, Chief Inspector. Listen to free podcasts while you're walking your dog, as someone rang me the other day and said they weren't finding it helpful, or when you're commuting. And there's free blogs, loads of free blogs on things that are currently cropping up in promotion boards at the moment, things like diversity, equality, inclusion, and a whole range of things. So this issue about pulling the rabbit out of the hat is something that really kind of came to mind. And one of the stories I quite like, one of the things I read a while back, was about a lawyer, an American lawyer called Louis Nizer. And Louis Nizer was a famous lawyer. I think he died in 1994, wrote a couple of books, When the Jury Returns, My Life in Court. Really inspiring guy. He represented some of the most famous people in America, but he also represented a lot of people on death row and some famous cases around that. And I think it was around about 50 people that he successfully defended. A clean slate, if you like. He won every one of the people that he defended that were on death row. And when he was celebrated and lauded as one of the best lawyers in his time, he said, I claim only this for myself, the distinction that I was the best prepared. And that for me really resonates, because, as you know, I mean, on these videos, the name of the game, the name of my game really, the name of the simple strategy for promotion success is preparation, preparation, preparation. So that struck a theme with me. The best prepared win through. Now, I'm going to borrow a bit of that from Louis Nizer and say, you know, the best prepared tend to succeed on promotion boards. And all of these videos, all of these free videos, these free podcasts, free downloadable guides, are all about supporting people to prepare effectively and meaningfully for a promotion opportunity. Obviously, against the background of, you know, shifts, shift work, all the other priorities and commitments you might have. At some stage we all only have 24 hours in the day, so at some stage you have to fit things in, which is why I kind of use my kind of podcast and blogs to kind of generate food for thought, just to generate some thinking for you. So in terms of this rabbit, Louis Nizer, I think it was a pitch to him that you know, how do you manage to pull the rabbit out of the hat on each occasion? He said, well, which rabbit? Which rabbit are you talking about? I've got a rabbit for every occasion. You know, I can pull the relevant rabbit out of the time. Why? Because I am the best prepared. And why wouldn't you be with somebody's life on the line? That was his ethos. Somebody's life's on the line. How can I not claim the distinction of being the best prepared? So if you kind of move that across, this concept of pulling the rabbit out of the hat and being the best prepared, it sits very well and blends and lends itself very, very well to preparing for promotion. And for me, I always say aim for number one. Every candidate that I encourage or talk to on the telephone, we always end up with them right on the right kind of zone, if you like, the right level. Okay, I'm aiming to be first. I'm aiming to come first in our force, and that really does connect you with, you know, the gap or the gaps that you may have to fill, but it also gives you somewhere to aim at. And I did have something, I haven't got it written down here. Oh yeah, I've got it here, just down here, sorry. A little bit disorganised. I've got one here from someone quite recently where, good evening Steve, this is a feedback he's just sent to me. Good evening Steve, I just wanted to let you know I passed my skipper's process today. Not only that, but I scored the highest in my BCU. Couldn't have done it without your materials, your YouTube series and your other bits and pieces that you've highlighted on the way. Thank you, I'll be back when it's time for my inspectors. Zane, that's a lad called Zane, and I had a few conversations with Zane. He was aiming to be first. He came first. You may have seen from some other recent videos I did where other people have fed back to me. I've had lots and lots and lots of them recently where people have come first. They've come top of their boards. How does that happen? How do they pull that rabbit out of the hat? Well, all of them have in common some action that they've taken. They've generated, generally they've gone down I'll stay with the rodents type thing, the rabbits. They've gone down the rabbit hole of promotion, preparation, and they've kind of popped back up with a whole load of extra knowledge that they didn't think they had. They're connected with more materials, more thoughts, more ideas, the role that they're going for, the leadership style that they demonstrate, or leadership styles they demonstrate in the workplace, what work they've done to understand that and get to that. And so they've kind of prepared themselves to pull the rabbit from the hat. So just like Louis Nizer said, you know, I want you to be able to choose or to be able to produce whichever rabbit comes out of the hat. So if you're going to ask 6 questions on a promotion board, you're going to have 6 responses, 6 meaningful responses that are aligned to the competency that you're being assessed against, that are blended with the values. So don't forget, it's a competency and values framework. And people often think, well, I haven't been asked a question about the value. And that's because the values are threaded all the way through some of the competency questions as well. So integrity and transparency and impartiality and public service, unsurprisingly, are woven through these the questions that you may well get asked on promotion boards. So understanding that before you go in is very helpful, and it helps you pull those rabbits out when you need to, in terms of connecting with ideas and priorities and the role and the descriptors. So it's a great analogy. Some of those rabbits now that you need to kind of pull out of the hat, or may want to think about pulling out of the hat now, is you. The whole process is geared around you. What kind of leader, manager, supervisor will you be? What do you know about yourself? When are you having a good day? So that's strengths-based questions approach. The process, what do you know about the process? Because if you don't know anything about the process, you're not going to be able to pull out the tricks of the trade or the useful tips and guidance to help you understand the process. Or what do you understand about the process now? And even if it isn't advertised, what can you do to find out about it? Hint, clue, I've written downloadable digital bespoke toolkits to help you with all of that, so you can read that, do a deep dive through it, and then kind of surface up and start fine-tuning and processing some of this ahead of a promotion board, and that signifies someone who's far better prepared. CPD, your continuous professional and personal development, really, really important. I've done a blog about it. It's called the killer question, and that is essentially, what have you done to develop yourself or anybody else in the last 12 months. That's a brilliant rabbit you can pull out the bag, unless you don't know how to answer that, unless you're not aware enough about what you've been doing. Another way of thinking about that is, how are you improving? That's another way of thinking about it. Leadership style or leadership styles. I wrote a blog about that called Booby Trap. What's your leadership style? Booby Trap question. Have a look at the blog and find out a little bit more about that. Competence. It's a competency and values framework. There is a degree of competence expected of you in terms of doing your job. You have to be a competent constable before you can go for sergeant. You have to be a competent sergeant before you can go for inspector, and so on. What does competence mean? How competent are you? And if you look at things like theory, like Kolb's learning cycle talks about degrees of competence, you want to really be at the third stage of that, conscious competence, thinking about the things you're doing and thinking about these rabbits, if you like, that you want to be able to pull out of the hat. Examples, you're going to need some examples. Each one of those is a rabbit to pull out of the hat. That's linked to your own evidence. What evidence have you got to offer a promotion board or to make the case for them considering you being promoted? Rear-facing and forward-facing questions. Those are both rabbits that you can look at and pull them out of the bag when you get asked them. So how will you do something forward-facing? How will you lead your teams through challenging times? Give us an example of when you've led a team through a challenging time. Rear-facing. There's lots of different connotations around that, but that's another rabbit. Presentations and briefings is another one, another rabbit to pull out of the bag. So there's lots and lots of rabbits that you can pull out of the hat when you need to. All of it's linked to the kind of depth and breadth of preparation and work that you are prepared to do now. All of that will stand you in good stead, and generally that's the kind of thing that, like Zane, helps you just set yourself apart from other candidates. You've done this work, and that is linked to a degree of confidence, personal confidence, and guess what? That shines in the process. All this work shines through as confidence, and you are more able to be, if you like, verbally proactive in your own interests. You've got more confidence, more awareness, more knowledge, and you're not shy in telling the board about it, and it just comes through and they see that you're well prepared. Okay, I'm not going to touch, I've touched all about rabbits on this one. I'm not going to touch about guinea pigs and the fact that as promotion candidates, forces are using you as different kind of guinea pigs for different tests at different times, but maybe I'll do another blog about that. Don't forget, if you need to kind of hit the ground running, if you need to do a quantum leap forward, take a quantum leap forward, you can download the toolkits. You can download a 4-hour promotion masterclass. Whatever you choose to do, I hope you found some useful thought for this, and I wish you all the best in pulling the rabbit from the hat when you need to. Until next time, take care, stay safe.